All right, today I'm going to copy this Winslow Homer painting. It's actually an oil painting, but Winslow Homer worked a lot in watercolor. So I'm going to see just by doing a quick copy of this. This is one of the wonderful things about translating information into multimedias. You can be inspired by anything. This is a watercolor set from Michael Harding I got recently, and I'm going to take it for a test drive. I may limit the colors just because there's a lot in here, but I'm pretty sure this is his watercolor set for landscapes. So it's a fantastic way to kind of take and begin to figure out just how you feel about a lot of your own paint. So I'm going to just kind of limit it. Now the beautiful thing about even his painting here is that he has, maybe I'll get a yellow in there, and maybe I'll put a little bit more than I was thinking, but I'm going to mix a lot of these colors to see if I can get, what he has in this painting. But that's the beauty of taking and studying these things. There's value in many different ways. This is a brush, a Kolinsky Sable brush, which if you're going to do watercolor are the best brushes, and they're very expensive, but I'm going to take it for a test drive today. And the beauty of it is that it can get a razor sharp point, but also it holds everything in almost like a well. So I'm going to put these colors out, and then I'm going to start painting. There's yellow. So Michael just came out with these not too long ago. So I'm going to, again, take them for a test drive here. Put the greens over there. I have watercolor painted in the past. It's not completely new to me. I do show some of them professionally, so I have done this before, but I am going to experiment. And the experiment I'm going to do today, which I really am excited to do, is that I'm going to play with not doing an underpainting. I'm going to see just, how not having the painting, the drawing be there, how close can I get, and how much does it matter? So it's one of those questions that just kind of comes to mind as I begin, or I define or figure out what the answer is really as I paint. So all right, so that is ultramarine. That's sky blue. I believe his sky blue, he has the CIN numbers on it, so that is phthalo. Phthalo mixed with a yellow is going to give me pretty high chroma. And then I'm going to put a burnt sienna on here, which is just a warm red-orange. Let me just grab a napkin. We're going to get ready to rock and roll. All right. So, like I said, I'm going to try to do this with just minimal drawing underneath, like not much of a drawing. And, if you're trying to get really confident at painting, it's definitely one of the things I would suggest. So there are many ways to kind of tackle this. One of them is to, the beauty of this medium is that you can do it as a wash. But I'm gonna take and I'm gonna tiptoe into the painting. I'm gonna do it just with like a mass of what I see, and I don't have much to gauge off of here, but I'm gonna begin to now finally check to see if the color seems like it's too high in chroma. And the beauty of doing this is to check as you're doing it, and meaning that there's no piece of data to kind of gauge anything off of at this stage. So I'm just going to loosely mass in the shape. And I'm going to kind of let go. That's the beauty of working in watercolor, is that, it's water. Kind of feeling like you're trying to control it, but you can't quite. And there may be beautiful moments in the painting that just arise, the wonderful thing about watercolor is that it kind of beads and flows, and it's a wonderful thing to let the medium kind of get away from you. There you go. And then see just, what it can do. So it's the essence of the picture really that I'm after here. So I'm going to just see if I can get some of this beautiful kind of turquoise. I'm going to try to go darker. So let me just see, like, what happens if I just go bold with the color, just mixing, kind of finding this on the painting or the palette before it goes onto the painting. Then I'm just gonna dash it, right? Oh, look at that. The surface is kind of gobbled up all the water, but look at how, there's just a shape right there. So the brush can be a part of this, right? And that's a little bit towards green, so I'm gonna clean. I'm gonna pull towards blue, right? And now I'm gonna pull towards ultra to get a deep green. There's a lot of pigment load on there, right? But look at the mark. That's just sometimes just because you're not able to kind of nail it or you're pulling it. I'm probably going to try out some gouache eventually. And let's go into green again. Go. And the wonderful thing about this is that you're going to take water and then it's just going to pool it. Maybe that's too much. I'm going to go back in. Sometimes those beautiful happy accidents are what makes this wonderful, kind of uncontrolled, very uncontrolled, controlled medium. Some people can totally control, by the way. But again, what I'm trying to get out of this is a little bit of, more of a study. What does it mean to be loose? A wonderful way to kind of take this data after would be to kind of take and bring it outside and then do your own. And then there's a dialogue between the study and also the copy. Look at that, just going into after the picture. One of the things I just love about this kind of methodology, rather than rendering things, I'm going to render the picture or after the picture. Maybe down here, just a shape. The beautiful thing about studying abstraction of composition, taking and aligning all that training as a deep green. It's just the green I have right now. Doesn't mean that's what I see, but of course that's what I can put if I want. And sometimes taking the challenge to try things at such a small scale like this really just allows you to play. Dang. All right, let's go back over here. How dirty that water is getting. This comes over. What does it mean to kind of visually map, as you're going? Pull it up here. Maybe this is pushed a little bit too much, but again, at the end, I try to judge it as its own beautiful thing at the end. Wonderful thing also about painting studies like this quickly is you kind of just warm up to it. Maybe it's just, maybe the beauty is in the sketch. A lot of the French were doing sketches back in the day. And I think that's just, obviously, it's where Impressionism came out of. Drag the brush. I'm going to leave some of the ground as the white. But then look at this. That background is neutral. How do we mix a neutral? Well, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna will give you a nice one. I'm just going to really water it down. I don't think I'm going to be able to get, white as he does. I have to kind of preserve that. There's definitely techniques you can be playing with here too. But I'm going to be doing it just in one shot. I warm up to this stuff. What do I think of the painting? Do I do a longer one? It's just a warm up, but of course a study at the same time. What if we just dab in some color now? What if you take green over the top? I mean, the beautiful thing about watercolor is it's all about, make it be whatever you want to make it, but a lot of mixing comes from the transparency of the pigments. So you can definitely play more with the color. I think also my advice is to just leave it, let it be what it is. If it's not great, then so let the water kind of play in the medium. It doesn't have to be anything more. It could be abstract at the end. Sometimes taking the reference away helps because it makes it its own thing, its own art. Obviously that's white of the canvas. It looks very abstract. All right, ready? Let's get some black. I think of it almost like a dish as it begins to kind of take form, like in cooking. The thing too, this is where I begin to say, well, maybe I want to experiment. You could grab a little bit of white. I think I have white gouache. Or even just warm white. And then kind of pull it in. So there's the warm white. Michael's paints are fantastic because they have an element of there's honey in them. Here we go. Look at that. You end up finding the color. To me, there's serendipitous. Just there you go. Now that gets it the frame up. Just hit it a little bit of lighten it. There's like beauty in seeing studies too. I don't know if you study other studies. I certainly do. But there's just like beauty in seeing, like, I don't think there's one way to do anything, really. But there's a nice neutral now. Go over the top. Kind of unify a little bit. There's a warm cool going on in the whole thing. But sometimes ignorance is bliss. Maybe you don't know how to work with the materials, and then you're beginning to kind of use them a little bit more opaquely. But look at the just warm cool kind of happening in the whole painting. It's a mess. So just like balancing a dish, begin to kind of think like dry brush to wet. There's a beautiful book out there when I was learning watercolor. So my teacher was Irina Roman, who's amazing watercolorist, and she put us onto a book called How to Make a Watercolor Paint Itself by Anita Engel, which was just fantastic. And I think of it all the time. Very, very uncontrolled, controlled paintings, but there's just serendipity happening and everything, and it's just magical. I'd recommend it's a perfect place to begin to play and test out, what it is you want your paintings to look like. Maybe you want to dig into the data of, what did Homer have to say? Kind of very abstract, washy, but nice, I think. There's that drag again. Like, can you make your own study be balanced? There's probably too much pigment, but break the rules. Maybe you find something in that wet into wet. And then, obviously it's watercolor, so you can let it dry, and then wet into dry. What happens with that? Do I like watercolor? Do I hate it? I want to come back to it. Very low stakes to just play. Get that wet into almost wet here. What happens if you go back into a passage and deepen it? Maybe you will overwork it, but how do you know what overworked even means until you do it, right? So you have to test the boundaries. You don't have to do anything, but what I recommend, play, very low stakes play here. Again, what is your take on it? What do you think it means to be finished? If you are not sure, wonderful place to try it out. figure out what that is. Sometimes seeing is believing. A lot of times it is. Well, I think I'm gonna put a little blue down in here. Just pulling some of the mixtures that are already on there. I don't even see these colors. And now let's pull the blue in there. Warm white. Beautiful. Look at that. That's just wet into wet. Almost going on like gouache now. Like a little bit more opaque. Uh-oh. Don't tell anyone. There we go. That's pretty good. And again, it's abstract. Let's see if I can get a little red in here. The only red I can really pull in is my low chroma red orange, but let's see if I can just pull a almost like a spice. Again, the question I have is like, if I were to see this, would it give me the spirit of what that does? And I think it kind of does. I think it's there. Just hit one more passage over the back. Look at that. So it's kind of lifting. Gotta be very careful. Maybe that's a good thing. Not, it's unexpected, but maybe that's good. Maybe it's interesting. Maybe when it's dry, I'll be able to kind of see it and then think, oh, that's cool. Grab that big glob of white. Just put it, cake it on. There you go. Almost like gouache. You know, gouache is really just chalk added to watercolor. So kind of cool. Did you ever take a look at the work of like watercolors of it really feels like kind of just experimenting in looseness. The work of Turner. Turner had some awesome. Here we go. Pulling. That feels more like a opaque medium. Look at that. That's coming together. The wet into wet. You can't plan that. That's just total accidental. Maybe you could. I don't know. Maybe I'd paint more. It would be a bit more planned, but gobble it up. And I feel like that's the beauty of these immediacy kind of paintings. You know, and then there's, of course, many different techniques you could do by grabbing like tools and stuff to play. Again, this is the place to try it. Very low stakes. If it's not good, I'll chuck it. But I always recommend to take these, leave them, judge them in a couple days, take the reference away, and perhaps you'll see something different.